Hi, it's Nicole, and welcome to my channel where I get vocal about workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and all actions in between. Now, listen. I have a special person to my left. This is Sherifat. And to give you a little bit of backstory, she and I both work for Ursula. Again, if you do not know who Ursula is, I will pin that video in the comment section and you can go and take a look. But she and I worked for Ursula, and although our time there were vastly different, we were still heavily impacted. But I'm excited to have her here to talk about our experiences and her experience in particular, and just kind of compare and contrast what we went through and, yeah. So I got a couple of questions that I want to ask. And do you want to say anything before we get started?
Hi guys, my name is Sherifat Muhammad, but I was already introduced.
It's good, you can make your own introductions. I don't know if I did it justice.
You did it justice.
Okay.
You did it justice.
Or what is your understanding of workplace bullying? Like, what is your definition of it?
Workplace bullying to me is more or less using intimidation and various underhanded tactics to pretty much undermine employees.
Okay, and so have you ever experienced workplace bullying, like outside of that place?
Yes and no, in the sense where it wasn't as vicious. Like, it wasn't like in my face, like I am being bullied. It was more or less like, okay, maybe these people don't like me, but not the underhandedness, the intimidation type stuff.
So was it more like conflict that you encountered?
Conflict. More like conflict. Yeah,
okay.
It's more like conflict.
Okay. Well, and I could say for me, my biggest thing is I've only dealt with school place bullying. Mm-hmm. So my brain never really thought about what workplace bullying is and how to identify it, which is why I didn't even understand I was being bullied until after a significant amount of time where your brain catches up with reality and you're like, this doesn't feel right.
That, and you think that you're working with adults, so we're not going to be bullying each other like we're on the playground.
I mean, you would think. Define your experience working at the plantation.
A war zone. As you can see, I have my army fatigue because I was always ready for battle. Tiring, traumatic, and downright scary sometimes.
That part for me, I think, to be honest, more so towards the end is when I started to get scared because the behavior was just so erratic and it was so many different people piling on to attribute to it that it just didn't feel safe anymore. So I can definitely agree with that. When did you realize that you were being bullied?
Oh, that's a really good question. When lies were being told, but when I asked for proof, like, okay, can you prove that I did this, this, and that? It was like, I don't have to prove anything to you. I said it happened, it happened. That in that particular moment is when I said I'm being bullied.
Is there a specific instance that really capitalized on the fact like this is not right? Because in essence, you've only dealt with conflict. So is there like a specific time where it was just like red flag?
There were a lot of red flags, but the specific time where it was just like glaring, like, oh my God, what is going on, was when I had to do an evaluation. And in the evaluation, literally, it was like lie after lie after lie after lie. And I'm like, what? This is all lies. Yeah. And I had to go and literally write a rebuttal, like a 6-part rebuttal, because it was like literally fabricated lies. And I'm like, and we're talking to the HR person. I'm like, these are all lies. And the HR person was like, Sherifat? And I'm like, yes? Well, I mean, if you could just be what? I'm like, I'm telling you these are lies and you're not listening to me, and I'm actually proving with emails, with various communication, like, see, she didn't tell the truth here.
Yeah.
You see, this is what really happened. And it's just like, all I'm getting is Sherifat.
So what was the response to you calling out the fact that there was lies and having proof that what was indicated as a reason to write those things in the evaluation is cause for concern? Because they never voiced concern before, correct? Okay, so what was that?
This was the response, nothing. Literally.
And that's usually the case. And I have a situation too that I'll talk about in a whole separate video because again, Sherifat and I's experiences were extremely parallel. Even though your window was a couple of months, mine was a couple of years, it was still similar situations. And I too had a moment where I had to call out and write a rebuttal. And with that rebuttal, I got the same response.
Yeah.
There was no clarification on some of the accusations that were made. And so I definitely understand.
Yeah.
You were raised in this area.
Yeah.
So you know about the history of the organization. So what were your expectations coming in day one to this historical institution?
Oh, I'm thinking I'm walking into something that's like, oh my gosh, they're going to uplift me. It's all about Black empowerment, the Black artists, power to the people. We're going to get this done. I'm like so excited.
Yeah.
And then to walk in, I'm like, this is all a lie. This is a farce. This is not real. These people are nuts. Let me just be quiet because I'm going to
listen,
to a level I don't want to take it to.
So do you feel catfished?
Oh, yeah.
So what was your understanding about the organization? So not having worked there, what was your thoughts about the organization?
I thought the organization was truly about Black empowerment as it relates to Black artists, the filmmakers, the dancers, the singers. And to a certain degree, it is, but it's just the people behind it. I don't think they necessarily have the best interest at heart at times.
Yeah. And I can definitely agree to that. Being a transplant, is that what they call it when you move here? Okay. So being a transplant, I didn't know anything about the organization, the history of it. However, me too was attracted to the fact that, oh, it's a Black arts organization and I love the arts. And so I didn't pay $1 bajillion for my educational degrees to not be in the arts and focusing on arts education. So it was extremely disappointing to see that the folk behind it were more interested in being abusers and abusers of power, abusers of privileged, and their sole purpose was more so to, I guess, be imposters. Yeah. You know, and get the accolades from being with the organization versus actually doing the work for the people that they say that they're doing it for.
And what was also surprising was some of the people in positions didn't even have an artistic connection, maybe they may have had a brief one at one point in time, but in this current time, they just didn't. Like, it was like, so, like, I'm a filmmaker. Yeah. You're in the arts. There are other people who are in the arts that work there, but like some of the higher ups, I'm like, you're not even connected to the arts at all.
And you know, to be honest, there are people in every job that's not qualified.
That's true. That's true.
And so
it's very true.
For me, it's not even the fact that the executive directors or 80% of the board, probably more 90% of the board, are not arts related individuals.
Yeah.
It's when you take it a step further in doing other corrupt things on top of not even being passionate, interested, considerate, focused, lover of the arts. It's just a huge disappointment to encounter something in your mind that is going to look one way, but when you experience, it's the total opposite.
Totally opposite.
So.
Oh boy.
It's nothing crazy, I promise. As a Black woman,
yes,
working for a Black organization, do you feel let down, disappointed?
Yes, I do. Because I'm like, I get this treatment in other places. Why are you treating me like this?
And to add to that, I feel like I've worked for others. I've actually worked for others under a different administration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so there was a level of expectation of treatment from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To get that level plus more from my own, that hits different.
That hits very different. It's very different. It hurts a lot more. It cuts deeper. But with that being said, I just know moving forward not to move like that.
Okay, so let's go off of that. What did you learn about working at an organization like that?
Be careful how you treat people.
And I learned everything not to do.
Yep.
Not to be that person.
Yep.
Not to behave that way. Not to encounter things in that magnitude. Not to talk like that. Not to walk like that. Not to be like that.
Not to look like that.
What do you feel their objective was in treating you the way that you were treated?
I honestly do not know. I understand when you don't like someone. I get it. Maybe your personalities don't mesh well. But it's like, I really don't know.
Okay, pause right quick. How long were you there before you started having issues and or seeing red flags? Because then I think that would better help those understand that last part of the question.
Before I even started, I started seeing red flags, to be honest. But sometimes you're like, okay, maybe I'm tripping, this, and that. And I really want to be here. I really want to be with this organization. So I'm just going to step to the side, even though I'm not feeling some things. So before I even started, and then my very first day, I was already hearing contradictions. And I'm like, that's not what we talked about. But okay. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. Literally, it was like every other week would be like, what? Huh? What you talking about? What is type of thing? It was like that. Like, what? We didn't talk about that. You said.
Yeah.
But okay, but huh?
Okay, so inserting me into the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like by the time you and I saw each other face to face, because we were initially working remotely, plus I'm a contractor. So at this point, it's given I'm not an employee, so I'm not going to be seeing them on a regular anyway.
Yeah.
However, when you and I first encountered each other, how long was that after you had started working there?
Was it like 2 months?
It could have been.
I think it may have been like 2 months.
Or at least a month and a half.
It was like a month and a half. It was between a month and a half and 2 months.
So by the time you and I met, how much negative experiences did you have?
I had quite a few. But at that time, I was thinking to myself, okay, let me just get these people to trust me. If they can trust me and see that I can do the work, I can do this, they'll kind of like fall back a little bit. So I had quite a few. And like I said, I didn't really quite know it was bullying because prior to that, I had conflict.
Right.
Not necessarily bullying where people were like undermining my work and doing this and lying and fabricating. Usually when somebody was trying to do something or plan something against you, in my experience, they would have something to kind of back it up. Even if they had taken it out of context,
right? They
would have something to back it up. Like this was just like, by the time I met you, it's kind of like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I just need to, I'm going to show her. I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them that they can trust me. I can do work, and they're going to fall back. They're going to realize. So by the time I got to you, I was still thinking like, okay, let me just show them that I can do the work.
Yeah, and I think that's a common mistake that we all make is thinking that we are going to be able to show certain people by actions that we are good people, and the alternative to that is that they're just such bad people.
Yeah.
They will never be able to see the goodness.
Grasp
right?
that I'm not here to take your position. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to do my job.
And so we go so hard with trying to give them a different perspective of us that we're just totally wasting our time.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally wasting our time.
At the end of the day, I was totally wasting my time. It didn't even matter what I did.
You and I meet about a month and a half in.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first impression of me?
Well, I knew you had like a calming spirit because when we first started talking, for whatever reason, I was like, hey, this is what's going on, da 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 da. And then you were able to be like, no, this is what's really going on. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
The first time I met you was at the staff meeting.
Right.
And he was like, hi, Sherifat. I was like, hey, Nicole.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Which was very awkward because there was no like introduction.
Yeah.
Mind you, at this point we had just gotten to be in person.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm that type of person that wants all the new people to feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. Plus, I know the energy of the office. I don't want them to feel.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want anyone to feel
some kind of way.
Despite of the circumstances. So I was definitely trying to make an effort to be like, all is well. Not knowing, which is what I'm getting at, that you had already been encountering things.
Yeah.
And that led us to that moment in the office.
Yeah. That's exactly
so I believe that may have been maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it was.
In which, if I can recall, was when she came at you about the time you got in the office, was making a big deal, and there was some words exchanged in terms of that. And then somehow you and I end up breaking the ice because you were very, very upset.
Yeah.
Like, so pretty much a month and a half in, you was ready to quit.
Yeah, right. So I'm not going to hold you. I was. I'm like,
So to put some context in that as well, she had actually, beefing with everybody that particular week. And I believe that week was when she was supposed to be overseas somewhere.
Yeah, she's supposed to be out of town.
And so it was just a moment of confusion because folk are trying to understand you're supposed to be living your best life in this moment because you're overseas.
Overseas, allegedly.
Why are you behaving so erratically via emails and all of those things? And then came back and just came for people's jugulars. Yeah. And it was just giving very, very tense moments that when you and I connected, you was just like, girl. And I'm not the type to lie. It's no need to. So when the question was asked, like, this is what I'm feeling. And I believe you really was asking it because I think in that moment you was also feeling, don't quote me, gaslit.
Yeah.
You were trying to understand if...
Was I tripping?
Were you tripping? Like, were you thinking?
Yeah, I definitely remember that. Yeah. That's exactly what I was feeling. Because I'm like, this is what's happening. I know you're not doing this to everybody else. Why are you only doing this with me? You're literally targeting me.
Right.
But for why? And you're not even explaining why.
There's no reason. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, there are times when people do not have reasons why they do not.
What they do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you asked, what you asked me that day? This was like maybe last month when you asked me the why question. If I knew why.
Oh, why did she target me? Why did Ursula target me? I think the question
was...
Why me?
Why me?
Yeah.
Why me? And I told you...